How often do you employ traps in your games? I used to not use them because they would always end up annoying my players and bringing down the overall joy in the room. Well, if you feel the same way, watch till the end to see how I make traps actually fun and interesting in my tabletop role-playing games. Hello everyone and welcome to Dungeon Bits, and if you have great ideas for traps, let me know in the comments below so other people can see a wealth of points of view and pick the one that suits them the best. The comments have been amazing recently, so I can't wait to see more. So, the problem with traps is that they just tend to be mean and boring. They just pop up out of nowhere and just do damage, and it's either healed away or just removed after resting anyway. And if you hear that and immediately race to the comment sections of videos to talk about how the modern generation getting participation trophies or being snowflakes because that's the point of traps, then first of all, drink paint and f off, and secondly, they can be better. The issue with these kinds of traps that I call landmines is that they're completely random and their result is just boring. So today, we're going to focus on the build-up and the result of traps. Stepping on a completely random floor tile and getting stabbed in the face with a scythe may feel classic and effective for dungeon owners who want to just prevent intruders from proceeding, but if we focus on player fun, then use what I call anglerfish traps. As an example, a damsel in distress is caught in a bear trap or bound to the wall by restraints and is shouting to be set free will probably trigger the good-hearted nature of at least one of your PCs. Too bad it's an illusion and now you're perfectly placed to be shot or pushed into a dark pit. This method has worked every time I've used it, and every time it was a good-hearted paladin trying to save a trapped innocent, illusions and oblexes trying to lure players to step on the X marks the death. But it doesn't always have to target the heroic tendencies of your players. There is a pile of gold in the middle of the table, just asking to be taken. Will the greedy rogue fill their pockets? It's mimic time. These kinds of traps are actually interesting because they are a result of emotions and desire, because they are sprung as a result of player choice, not because the players chose to keep playing. And that's step one. If you want to give your players a break from a room filled with invisible rakes to step on, which I'm definitely using in my next game now, that's a Dungeon Bits original, then have the trap be deceptively triggered by player choice. But step 2 is considering what happens once the trap is triggered. You take 2d8 damage, well maybe, or you could have the result be more interesting by using continuous effects. Continuous effects includes all detrimental results that can't just be healed away, or their effect actually forces players to reconsider how they play because of a lingering issue. For example, being damaged forces a player to use a resource to heal, waste time to rest, or risk being damaged before a fight. But what about damage and their armor's broken? Suddenly, the tank isn't just shrugging off a rake to the face, now they can't fight as well, because they have to use a one-handed weapon instead of their big greatsword. What if instead, the character is showered in corrosive material, which doesn't just sting the character, but it also damages their armor. Now their damage reduction or armor class is lessened. What about a more supernatural result? And now the player is given long-sightedness, or a fear of fire, or a short-term curse that influences their body or mind. Here's a fun one. The rogue pulls at an ornate-looking dagger on the table and realizes it's a switch, causing the floor to drop out and the party is sent sliding down chutes until they are scattered to different rooms in the dungeon. Having a trap in the form of a bag of gold on a table that when it's lifted off by greedy fingers causes a rolling boulder to emerge and forces the players to scatter, or having a room filled with disorientating gas that causes the players to fail when rolling high and succeed when rolling low until they leave the dungeon for the day is far more interesting than you get a scratch. So, we've covered the lead up to the trap and the effect of the trap, but another way to spice up traps is by making the effect of the trap really nasty, or the effect of the trap is something that will need dealing with immediately. This is what I call active resolution traps. Making a save and dealing with the consequences of a completely random roll can get old. Instead, you can have an anglerfish trap or a randomly sprung trap, but the triggered effect of the trap gives the players a chance to fix the issue. A great example of this is with Star Wars. The players are flushed into a room that is starting to close in on them. How will they escape this? See, it's not that you're putting your players in a room and saying, yep, you lost 40 health. The trap instead puts them in a situation where they may indeed have to spend a resource to get out of it, or it requires your players to use their smarts. And if they don't succeed? Your move, GM. Maybe when the players trigger this trap, it can spring a combat encounter that they could have avoided otherwise if it weren't for them triggering it. This combat encounter will surely impact their strength for the future battles ahead. Perhaps a trap with a ticking clock is triggered, like the Star Wars trash compactor as previously mentioned. It could throw you into a skill challenge, as an Indiana Jones style rolling boulder comes rolling down the corridor. Rooms filling with water, gas or flatulent cows can really push our players into a state of desperation. It can really wake them up instead of just, you take 14 damage. You could even place a sand timer on the table and say, in 2 minutes, the room will completely fill with water. Now, solve this puzzle under that time pressure. Go! And here's a controversial tip. You could make a trap where the result is seemingly impossible to escape from, and you just make your players deal with it. You haven't planned for a solution to come up, but desperation forces quick thinking. Then, once the players think up a creative solution that you like, boom, they solve it, and congratulate them for finding out the solution that you definitely planned for. We all imagine traps being these super cool things that you find in dungeons, but oftentimes they're mechanically the same thing, but with a spinning blade this time instead of spikes, dealing the same damage for the same random trigger. Well, with these tips, hopefully you will be armed to think up creative and devious traps. Hi! I f***ed up. My storage space ran out nearing the end of the video to the point where if I was to try and get the entire thing again captured, I would have to do the entire video again when it was like 3 paragraphs left. So I thought, I'm not doing that. So this brings me here. I'm still wearing the shirt that definitely says Doom, YouTube, but I just want to say that basically at the end of all this, if you watched this entire video and thought, hey, I'm just still gonna use traps the way I've been using them, that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely cool. That's great. Do what makes you happy, what makes your players happy. If they love the whole wacky surprise aspect of it, that's absolutely fine. But I hope by watching this, it got your brain working and inspired to look at what you're doing right now, what you could be doing better in your game and across any of your games, how you can improve, get your brain working in that respect. But with that out of the way, literally, as I said, 1 paragraph, I'm Ellis, and if you like this video, leave a like, comment, maybe even share the video. Any support you can give helps me a lot, thanks. Also, if you like these tips, click the video on screen to see the ways that I make combat thrilling in my tabletop role-playing games. I love you all, and I'll see you next Saturday.